Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Office 365 Pulse. We have the whole team here. We have a little bit of a dud of a roadmap, but we will go through it and let you know some of the new features that are coming. No worries. The reason it's a bit of a dud is because we are the 2 weeks before a big conference, or the 3 weeks before a big conference, which is Microsoft Ignite, which is going to be a free conference this year. Anyone can register. It's a digital only experience, so it's going to be a great event. You do not want to miss it. But usually before any major event, we see the roadmap kind of go silent. It's not that they're dud releases, it's just nothing that you're super, super excited about, or things that you knew were coming already. So, the big moments will happen at the conference. So between now and then, we'll get some updates for you guys, but probably, maybe some things that you were waiting for, but probably nothing earth shattering. So I'll start us off with one that's in development. This again means that it's back in the Microsoft factory. It's getting made. They're figuring out how to do it, and it has not hit anyone's tenant yet. So in development right now, one that I think this one is great, is Planner is going to recommend related files for you to attach to your task. So based on the things that you're doing and the task and the words that you're putting in there, it's going to say, hey, probably this file, and based on what you've been doing. It's going to be using the graph to do this, connecting all of us together. It's great. If you've been you've probably started to see some experiences like this lately with the Cortana emails and some of the other things that are going on where they're making these recommendations for you, and they have been spot on for me. So I am excited about seeing this. I'm excited to see where it's going in development as I'm talking. It's like, hey, not only are you talking about something that probably has a file attached to it, it's probably this file that you were working on. So
Exactly.
super excited to see that. I think they'll do a great job getting that there. So that was one that I liked. And so I'll pass it over to Tamara, and she can talk to us about some of her features that are in development here that she likes.
Sure. There's a grouping of them that I'll go ahead and take. There's Outlook for Android and Outlook for iOS. And they're basically getting the same amount of love from Microsoft in that there'll be SharePoint news and recorded team meetings available on Outlook for Android and Outlook for iOS. Also, using your voice to compose an email, using your voice to create a new calendar event, and use your voice to initiate a phone or Teams call. So that's happening in both iOS and Android.
Yeah, I think that's cool. Where I live, for a couple of years now, it's been illegal to use your cell phone while driving. You still see people everywhere using their cell phones while driving. But I think it might be hard to go compose a whole email route. But the idea of just going through and being able to create calendar events and stuff, I think is a great potential hands-free way if you're, doing a commute home from work or doing something like that and you need to do something. So honestly, I see this as kind of a quality of life thing that potentially could legitimately make people safer. So I think it's kind of cool.
Well, and I think too, it may not be where you want to do a full email to somebody for something that's business related, but I could see it being really nice to go, Cortana, create email, send to Tom Duff, subject, note, remember to do this when you get back to the office, send.
Yeah.
Tom, I got the hot dogs.
Yes, there you go. Those pulled pork hot dogs, they're now ready. Well, since Tamara stepped in and took my entire grouping of things, which I'm usually known for doing, there's a couple here that I will go ahead and mention. One is Microsoft Teams. And I think we've talked about this in the past, but it's showing up in the development again. And that is, if you are using presenter mode for Microsoft Teams whiteboard in a Teams meeting, you're going to be able to say, hey, I'm presenting, you're not, and do not make any changes to my whiteboard content. And I think that's a good thing because some people are like, oh, I'm just going to add a little note here, and it completely throws off the gist of where you're going. So I like the fact that they're going to be able to lock down a whiteboard to just the presenter. The other one that they have coming out that is to do with Microsoft To Do is support for push notifications to shared list activities. So it's going to basically add the ability to create Microsoft To Do push notifications in work and school account, just like you do with your personal. So again, it's kind of melding together that whole work, life, school, which in today's environment, maybe 6 months ago, we would have said, I don't know, we really want to keep them separate. It's like, sorry, you don't get to keep anything separate anymore. So you might as well get it all in there. So that'll be a good change when that one comes out.
Yeah, so I'll give some love. These are not new features or just stuff that's eventually going to come out to the government cloud. So Tamara, myself, and Jen will always be happy to see this because I can tell you from supporting government customers, the most common thing you get is, when are we going to get X? Because they know the cool stuff that's out there for other people and they want to get access to it. So 2 things that they added to the roadmap this week for in development is one is the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center. Without going too deep into this, there's something specifically in there called communication compliance, which is basically a way to check to see if like someone's saying bad things they shouldn't be saying. Specifically, this is to look for like inappropriate messages or messages that like may have like bad language in them, stuff like that. And it's just basically a set of tools that allow you to kind of monitor and look for that stuff a little bit better. And the second thing that they're doing, that I know this is something that I've specifically been asked about clients, the ability to expire shared links. So going in there and basically saying, okay, I want to go in and expire the links, or I want to set a specific time limit for it. That's going to be coming to OneDrive, and I believe by extension SharePoint as well too, to the government cloud. So I know that's something I've been asked about. So if you're in the government, don't worry, both those features have been added to the roadmap and will hopefully come in the not too distant future for you.
Yeah. And then the last one that I have before I pass it around to everyone else to see what their last ones are, if there's anything else we missed, is students and educators that are using class notebook page distribution. So it's one of the tools inside of OneNote where you can distribute a page to everybody. They are going to be able to ensure that all students get a notification that a page has been distributed. So this is really important to teachers and educators to know that, hey, it's confirmation. It's pretty easy. I have a 12-year-old. It's pretty easy for the student to say, I didn't get it. It's pretty easy to wonder, did the student get it? It's pretty easy. So some of these confirmation things are just I sent it, there's a verification that I got it, there's a confirmation, and then you can deal with it. If you don't know, then it's like, well, is one student telling me, they didn't get it? Does that mean they didn't get it? Or does that mean nobody got it? So it's going to help with that. So I'm glad to see them putting some more love for the educators there, and we will continue to see the evolution of everything in the education space as we go there, I'm sure.
Which is awesome. Like, props to Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't go look in the bottom of your kid's backpack for a wadded up assignment sheet anymore. It just doesn't work that way. So.
No, but I can go into his Teams. So I do have his Teams login, and I do.
That's going to be the worst. Mom knows the technology back end. She'll get me in trouble.
It doesn't work like that, Mom. Sorry. Yes, it does.
No, he does. He let me set it up for him. I got him all set up. I showed him how to use it. We got a file going, and I said, listen, it's better if I just know what it is. I was like, it's easier if you just share those passwords with me. And so we, went through all of it, and it's easier if I can help him with it. So even remote, like right now, we're states apart, but I can log in and help him with whatever he needs. And so he's done really good with Teams this year. He's only had one time where they had an issue, and a teacher had an issue connecting because of a internet issue. So it wasn't even a platform issue or anything like that. And he's texting me, and he was like, teacher's not here. What do I do? You just sit there and wait, kiddo. It's fine. It's fine. But it's going good. So we're in
15-minute rule.
Yeah, we're in week 6 of school so far, and the kid hasn't complained about the technology once. Nice. He does think it's funny though, because the first thing they did in PE is watch a module about how bad it was to sit in front of a computer all day. And so he brings that up all the time. He's like, the first thing they taught me is how bad it is to sit in front of a computer all day. And I'm just like, okay, kid, you're right.
Irony here.
Yeah, there was some irony.
Could have told you that.
Yeah, it was funny.
Welcome to all of our jobs.
Yeah.
This is why your parents are going to die before you do.
My chiropractor calls it intense sitting.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anything else in development. I don't know about Tom or Tamara.
I'm good.
I did.
Okay, go for it.
Microsoft Teams custom images. So now you're going to be able to put like your company's logo in the lobby or the meeting pre-join experience. So the logo will be displayed for the meeting where the organizer has, you do have to have the advanced communications licenses in order to use this. But I think that's great. So people know they're in the right place. I think that's a nice little addition. And then in Visio, they also added the Azure, I can never say that right, Azure icons in Visio for the web. So now when you do your diagrams, you can have the correct icons as opposed to going out and scoping the internet and screen scraping a picture and dropping that into your Visio diagram.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, we can move to rolling out now. So this means we are rolling out to different tenants at different speeds. Again, something's going to roll to the rolling out status, and it is going to stay here until it's completely, rolling out. Things are going to take a while to roll out. For instance, Microsoft List hit rolling out, it's still not in our tenant. So there's going to be things that just take a while to roll out. So they could be in rolling out for a while, they could disappear, and then they'll show up and launched. So we just don't quite know how long things are going to be in that status. It's all gated and monitored by Microsoft to make sure that people get the smoothest transition that they can have. So there's 3 things. So I'm going to be nice and pass this to the team first, and we'll let Tom go first. Tom, don't take all 3.
So Microsoft Teams, they have an update to the format meeting invitations. So it's just going to make formatting a meeting invitation easier than it was before. They don't go into a lot of detail here, but we'll assume it'll be easier. And it's going to support all the same meeting invite customizations you currently have. So I know that when they first made changes back, I'm going to say maybe 6 months, 9 months ago, and started to bring it up a little bit more parity for what Skype had. It was really nice because you could go in, you could do optional people, and you had the scheduling assistant, and you had all these things in Teams that you didn't have before. So I'm looking forward to seeing them continually updating meeting invitations in Teams, because that's where people are starting to live more and more. So
very cool. All right, Adam, how about you? What do you see in rolling out that you like?
I wonder which one I'm going to talk about, guys.
I left that one for you, Adam.
Thanks, I figured. So I'm going to try not to get too nerdy on everyone here. So the actual update is MIP is adding in a functionality called salting to exact data match. Now, without going too deep down the rabbit hole, this is actually stupidly cool and stupidly neat from a technology standpoint. So basically, whenever you hash passwords, hashes are kind of known how you go through and approach stuff. As such, over time, hackers have gotten better where they actually use tools typically called rainbow tables, which basically have pre-hashed or post-hashed values that are common. So you can basically take this table and go through and look at a table of passwords of people, and you have known hash values that you compare to their table to try to look for common words like the word password or something like that someone might have done. So the idea of salting is a way that's a pretty new or pretty recent idea around making your passwords even better. What adding salt to a password hash basically does is insert a random string into every value that you're doing. So if you're going in and say storing a table of passwords for the 4 of us, maybe Tom and I both happen to have hot dog as our password because we like hot dogs. Well, if you were to go look at a normal hash of those values, Tom and I's hash would be identical because we both have the password of hot dog. When you add in salt, you're adding in a random extra string into the password, and therefore Tom and I's hashes would be different. So some of the automated ways that hackers and exploiters have done to try to get around hashing of passwords, such as the rainbow tables that I mentioned, are not nearly as useful or basically useless once you have services that are adding in salt, which is that random string. So that was my 2-minute sidebar about Microsoft is basically implementing a new security feature that basically protects against automated probing of stuff that can get around hashes. So this is basically a way that is making it even more secure around doing your data. This is something that anyone that actually uses MIP that's trying to store compliance information or CUI data, even if you don't understand the technology on the back end, this is really cool stuff and really kind of cutting edge stuff. So the fact that they're going through and they're rolling it out to people is just the cyber nerd and security nerd inside of me is really excited about seeing this. It's really cool.
This is cool.
Awesome. That sounds really cool. Even to a non-nerd.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
You're kind of a nerd there, Tamara.
I'm nerd light.
Nerd light. There you go.
I can nerd out.
Nerd light
it's
with
rare.
lemon.
Nerd light, not with lemon.
With red hair.
All right, Tamara, I'll let you take the last one.
The last thing is Outlook for iOS, and that is in your Discover feed. You're soon going to have, which they're renaming the recommended feed, but soon it'll include the SharePoint news and access to recently recorded team online meetings that are relevant to you, and you'll be able to access that through the iOS.
Very, very cool. All right, so now we're moving on to launched. I'll pick one that is there, and then we'll kind of pass it off to everybody else. Communication compliance now detects repeat code of conduct violations over time. So that means if you're being a bad boy or girl over time, you're going to get showing up on a report that says not only are you a violator, you are a repeat violator. So
that's the Tamara report.
Yeah, so that's a don't do
That's
that report. That's the report you don't want to be on. So I'd watch that carefully. Don't do that. So it's cool. They're noticing trends. They're noticing all of those types of things. And then I'll pass it over to Adam to talk to us about some of the other things on launched.
So I'm just going to mention, I'm not going to go into everything, but just talking about it, there's a lot of updates there. They're doing some cool updates around Microsoft Edge version 85, which is the most recent Edge that's come out. They're basically doing a whole bunch of stuff that makes it easier around doing some stuff with like configured favorites, some stuff around DLP, some stuff around group policy deployments that would, if you're using Edge as your default browser. So if your company uses Edge, there's 5 or 6 things listed in here. I'm not going to list them all out. But if your company uses Edge, it's getting the most recent update is getting some love to make some stuff easier if you're using Office 365 as well.
And I'd say if your company is not using Edge but is using Internet Explorer, it's time to very, very seriously think about using Edge.
Yes. Do you guys ever see the memes about Internet Explorer where it's something that's like really, really late that they go through and do? Like I saw one the other week of Internet Explorer riding on the plane to go raid Area 51, which was like February of this year that happened. But
yep,
nice.
That's pretty true.
Oh, too funny.
I've funny. Only a couple items that I flagged on my side. There's a couple things that are Microsoft Teams related. Mm-hmm. One which is Reflect messaging extension. So apparently there's this it's called Reflect, and it's an extension you can get from GitHub and install it and then activate it within the proper message extension menus as an admin or something. But what it does is it gives, as it says here, managers, teachers, or leaders an easy way to check in with how their teams or students are feeling, either in general, about a specific work-life balance topic. So it's just kind of like being able to take a temperature check and say, hey, okay, so how's everybody feeling about working from home? And you'll be able to have some sort of an input, and they can start to get a little bit of a pulse instead of having to do something more formal, official, forms, whatever. So I think that's really cool. Definitely take a look if you're interested in being able to do that with your teams. The other one, which is really neat, and I think it's hit our tenant because I've heard a couple people mention it, Cortana is coming to the Teams mobile app. So using AI, Microsoft Graph, stuff like this, you can get voice assistant. So if you're looking at Teams, you've got your phone there, you got fat fingers and you don't want to try to hit the keyboard, you can click the Microsoft button and just say, hey, make a call, join this meeting, send a chat message, share files, do whatever. And this is all voice driven using all the different things that Microsoft is bringing in with Cortana enterprise grade services that meet security, privacy, and compliance commitments. So again, when you look at that in conjunction with some of the other voice stuff that they talked about with iOS and things like that, I think that's a really cool thing. And I like the fact that you're going to be able to use your phone and just talk things through there and go from there.
That's awesome. I'll just grab a couple that kind of all go together. So it's the Windows Virtual Desktop. So latency improvements. So IT pros can now pick between Norway, France, the UK, and Korea. There's increased regions where they can connect to their virtual machines. And so that's a good thing there. That's going to give some more increased latency improvements for end users as they're working on configuring those. So some open up channels there and some more regions have become available for that. I know that's Windows Virtual Desktop has been huge since COVID has hit and everyone has started working from home. So I know that's a big, that could be a change that a lot of people are waiting for. And how about you, Tamara? Do you have anything to close us out with? Was there anything left on the list?
I'm just really excited that Microsoft is showing so much love to the education portion of Teams and really doing a lot to make it easier on the teachers who are being asked to do 2 jobs at once, teaching in person and online. So the fact that Microsoft is just giving them more tools, especially if they're doing it all online, and you're not in the room to get your fingers on the pulse of the classroom. I just think this is great. Education insights for school leaders. So this new Insight app in Microsoft Teams for Education is going to enable the leaders to closely track the engagement, online activities, and progress of students within their institution or district, and over time help uncover and drive better learning outcomes. I just think any tools that we can give the instructors at this point is a huge win.
Most definitely.
And then there's also assignment user interface improvements for large classes. So it improves the speed of viewing and creating assignments for classes of up to 200 students. So I think this is more for the secondary education, college classes and things like that, than it is for the high school and elementary school. So it's nice to see that going on in the education licenses.
Cool.
Yeah, very nice stuff. Well, this has been a super awesome show, everybody. Like we said, there's not a ton of crazy updates there, but a lot of really, really good stuff. So we thank you guys for joining us this week, and we'll be back again next week with some more updates.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.